So I've been seeing these beautiful bubu styles all around, and I just decided to make mine. So I'm just going to be creating mine in a very different format, guys. So you want to see how I did it, then definitely keep on watching. So first of all, I'm going to be using this paper to illustrate so you'll not get confused because the fabric is literally wide and my sewing space is short. So I'm going to be showing you how the fabric is being folded with the paper. So I'm going to fold the fabric like this, and then I'm going to also fold it over again this way. Okay, so this is how the fabric is right now on the table. This is how it's looking like right now. So this area represents the part I'm going to use to cut out the neckline, while this other part represents we are going to be cutting out the sleeves. At this point, I'm going to be marking out my shoulder measurement. So the measurement I took for my shoulder from my one shoulder to the other part was 29 inches. So I'm going to be folding my tape into two like this. I'm going to divide that by two, and that's what I'm going to be marking on the fabric right now. So for a neck region, I'm going to be marking 3 inches. Then I'm going to be coming down by 1 inch, because right now you're going to be cutting out first of all the back neckline, okay? Because the front neckline you're going to be cutting it out separately. So right now the first one you're going to be cutting out is the back neckline. So after marking that, just connect those lines together, and then we'll just go ahead and then cut it out. So the next thing I'm going to be doing after I'm done cutting the neckline out is to mark from my shoulder to my bust point. So mine is 10 inches, and that's what I'm marking down here. So I'm also going to mark from that point also down to my hip point. Then I'm also going to mark that out. Bear it in mind that we are not marking in our waist line, because we're not going to be needing the waist point. So the bust and the hip is what is going to be controlling the main body of the dress. So we don't need the waist measurement. So that's why I am doing this. But if you're someone that has a bigger tummy, okay, and you want to consider it, then there is no problem. You can definitely go ahead and then do that. All right, so the next thing I'm going to be doing now is to mark out the circumference of my bust divided by 4. So for me, you're going to mark it out depending on how wide you want the bugos part of it to be like. So mine was 48, so I divided that by 4, and I'm marking it out now on my fabric. So now moving on to the hips, I also did the same thing to the hips. I made sure that it was wide enough, okay, to the test that I needed. So that was what I did, and I divided that by 4, and then I marked it out on my fabric. The measurements I had was 54 inches, okay. So with that 54 inches, I had to divide it by 4, and then I marked it out. So what I'm going to be doing right now is just to connect that line from my bust point down to the hip point, okay. Then I'm going to be connecting it also straight down to where I want it to stop. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to measure out the length, the full length of this gown. So for mine, the full length of this gown was 39 inches. So that's what I had to mark out, and then I'm going to connect that line, the remaining line from the hip line down to that 39 inches. So that was just it for the sides. So at this point now, what I'm going to do is to connect the line that we drew, okay, that's the markings on top of the shoulder where the shoulder stopped. That's where you're going to be connecting down to the bust point, okay. So once you have this line here, from this point now you're going to be drawing out a little bit of curve here so that we can have our sleeves, okay, since you're not going to be attaching any sleeve to this. So that's what you're going to be doing, so that the sleeves will definitely come out well. So right now I'm going to be marking ½ inch from that point outwards. So this ½ inch is going to help us, especially when we are trying to make that curve. So that's how I'm going to be doing now. I'm just going to gently do this and just curve it out. So as you can see now, we now have a sleeve attached to the bodice. So that is what it is. So right now what I'm going to be doing is just to go ahead and then cut them out. So if you want to add an allowance to yours, you're definitely free. At this point you can add an allowance before cutting it out. But for me, I not add an allowance to this, because definitely it's quite big. It's big enough, so I can definitely spare ½ inch from this to be able to use that to sew the side seams down. So that's why I did not add any seam allowance to this, because it's not fitted on the body. So right now I'm going to mark out the neckline for the front so you can cut it out. So I'm going to be marking 2 inches here. And these 2 inches, once you mark it out, I'm going to go ahead and then connect that line directly to the bust line that we have below. So once you connect it down, I'm going to open this up because this is on fold right now. Sorry, this is double, this is both the front and back. So I'm going to open it up so you can be able to cut out only the front part alone. So this is me trying to arrange it. After opening it up, I'm just trying to arrange this now so that you can understand what I'm trying to say. So once you open it up like this is the sleeve. You just fold this over like this. I'm explaining because this fabric is quite big and you might not really understand how I'm placing this now. So please just place your neckline on top of each other equally so that it can sit very well when you are trying to cut this out. So right now this is the front piece on its own, the back is towards the other side. So I'm just going to go ahead and then cut this out. So just watch how I am going to cut this. So at this point now I'm trying to cut out what I'm going to be using to pipe the neckline in front. So what I'm going to be doing now is just to mark out just to measure all these points so I will know what we are cutting out. So here was 10 inches before, so I'm going to extend it to 12 inches so I can be able to turn it over after sewing this down. Don't worry, I'm going to show you guys how I did this. So you can definitely make it 14 inches depending on how safe you want to be. Okay, so that is just it. So I'm going to be making use of this bridal satin, and I'm not going to be using the shiny part. I want to be using the doll part, that's the back part. That's what I'm going to be using. So don't worry, it's not really a full bridal satin. In case some of you will be confused, like how many yards or all of that. It's just a little stuff I had. I made a dress out of this, so this now remained. So that's just what I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to go ahead and then cut this out with the measurement that we had earlier. So the next thing is just to fold it over like this. And why I did this is because I want to just mark it out, fold this over at 3 inches. Okay, I have a reason for doing this. Don't worry, I'm going to show you guys later on in the video. So I'm just going to fold it down like this at 3 inches, and then I'm going to just go ahead and then cut it out. And I'm going to cut 2 of this. Remember, it's both sides of the front. Okay, so I'm just going to cut out 2 of this. So the next thing is to fold it over like this, and then I'm going to cut it out at the center like this. Okay, just on one side only. It's just one flap of this. That's what I'm cutting out. I'm just cutting a quarter of it, but it's on the half. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Don't worry, once I open it over, you can see it and you understand. So this is it. Now this tiny piece, I want to use it and then cut it out on this sequin material. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So right now I'm just going to place it on top of it like this, and then if you have pins, please go ahead and then pin it down so that it will not be moving up and down. Then you can go ahead and then cut it out. So the second material that I made use of was not really big, so it wasn't really enough, so I just had to manage them. So that's why I did this. So I'm going to do the same thing also to the other one. I'm just going to place it over also on another sequin part, and then I'm just going to pin them down and then cut it out. So by so doing, I'm going to be having double of that. Okay, just like how I had double of this other one I'm using to cut them out. So that is just it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to fold the bridal satin over like this, because I'm trying to cut out the cover for the front. So I'm just going to fold it over like this, and then I'm going to mark out 6 inches from the beginning point. Don't worry, there is no particular measurement for this. So should in case some people will come and be asking me questions in the comment section like how did you get the 6 inches and the rest. So don't worry, you can mark anything. It depends on how on the design that you want to make in front. So for me, I'm just making use of 6 inches, and then the down parts I'm going to be measuring out 10 inches. Okay, as in 10 inches the distance from that 6 inches downwards. So the next thing is just for me to connect these lines directly to where I had the 10 inches line. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and then cut it out like this. So once I cut it out, I'm just going to open it up, and then you are going to make a little bit of slant at the lower parts of this fabric just to give it that style. Okay, so that is just the only thing I'm going to be doing, and that is that for this. So the next thing is for me to go ahead and then cut it out also on the sequin material. Okay, just making a little version of that on the sequin material so I can place it at the center. So that is just the only thing for this one. That is just it. So the next thing is to attach the sequin on the remaining parts of the neckline, okay, so that we can just form the normal band that we had earlier. So this is what's looking like now. As you can see, the shining surface is still inwards. Okay, I'm only using the other part that is not shining. So the next thing I'm going to do is to sew down the sequin on the center parts that we just cut out. So I'm just going to go ahead and then prepare this area by sewing it down on the better satin fabric. So guys, at this point now I'm trying to prepare the neckline. So guys, this is the wrong part while this is the better part of the fabric. So I'm going to be placing this like this. I'm going to turn this over like this, and then I'm going to place it on the neckline this way. So at this point now I'm just going to go ahead and then sew it downwards. Okay, so don't forget to leave out ½ inch here so you can be able to use it to close it down on the neckline that's towards the back. So you're going to place this over like this, and then you're going to sew it down from the beginning downwards. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be doing, and then you're going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other part. So don't forget, as you're sewing it, you're not going to be sewing it directly down with the line that you cut out. Okay, what I'm going to be doing is, once you sew it here, now you're going to sew it directly to this point. As you can see, there's a little bit of space in between where it stopped and where the smaller fabric also stops. So this is like, let's say, ½ inch or maybe 1 inch. Okay, so you're going to just leave that space there so that you can snip that place open while turning it inward. So I ended up cutting out this little piece of fabric so that I can use this to pipe the back neckline. So what I have here is 10 inches by 3 inches, but you can definitely cut out probably maybe let's just say 7 inches or so, depending on how wide you want yours to be. So you're going to measure around this point first of all so that you can know how many inches you're marking out for yours. Okay, so that is just it. So what I'm going to be doing now is just to fold in ½ inches on both sides of this tiny fabric I just cut out. Then that's what I'm going to be using to pipe the neckline of this fabric like this. So preferably it's better for you to sew on top of the right side. Okay, right side of the main fabric, so they can come out looking very much neat. So that is just it. So I'm just going to go ahead and then pipe down. I'll come back and show you guys. So this is what it's looking like so far, guys. After I'm done piping, this is what it's looking like. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and then turn this over to the front. But guys, at this point I later ended up snipping this place open so that I can turn this place over, just like I said earlier. But at this point now I now notice that I literally made a mistake here, because this wasn't how I wanted to place this this peach stuff, okay, on the neckline. I just wanted, once I lift it open like this, it can just stay on top of the fabric. But the only mistake I did here was I attached it wrongly, meaning I attached it to the back instead of attaching it to the front. I don't even get understand, but I'm going to loosen it up right now, then I'm going to correct it, and I'll come back and show you guys how it looks like. So guys, at this point now I have loosened it up, and this is how I'm going to make the corrections now. So right now the main fabric is on its right side, not the wrong side. Okay, this is the right side of the fabric now. Now the other part is the wrong part. So I'm going to place this over like this. Okay, front sides facing each other. The front side of this small one and the front side of the main fabric is what's facing each other. So don't forget to leave out an ½ inch here so we can use it to close down the shoulder point. So the next thing is for us to go ahead and then sew it down. So once you turn it over like this, it will look that way. So this is it. So once I finished sewing it down, once you turn this over, it's going to look something like this. Okay, so before it would have just opened my breast. Okay, just kept it much open, much wide. So right now, after correcting it, this is how it was supposed to look like. Okay, so right now it is at least covering up a bit. Okay, how it's supposed to have been. So the next thing is for us to go ahead and then join this shoulder point together. So I'm going to flip it over like this, and then I'm just going to place this and make sure it sits at the same line, okay, together. Then I'm just going to go ahead and then stitch it down. Then I'm going to go ahead and also do the same thing to the other parts of the neckline. So that is just it. Now once I'm done with that, we are going to place these other parts on top of the chest area. that is this other triangle that we cut out. You're going to place this here, and then you're going to fold, use half inch or quarter inch, and then fold it inward, and then just top stitch on top of it all around, and that is just it for the front. So once you're done, you should have something that looks like this. So this is my finished work in front. So this has looking like so far. So right now, moving on to the sleeves, guys, we're just going to open this up like this, and then we're going to cut out a little fabric, okay, just using this same length here. We're just going to fold this over like this, but this is definitely optional, okay. You can just let it go and just double fold the hemming line of your own sleeve. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to place it downward like this. That's on the wrong side. So once I turn it over like this, it can stay on top of the fabric this way on the right side. So that's just the only thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and then do the same thing to the other part. So this was looking like so far after I finished joining them together. So after doing that, I just went ahead and then stitch it down here at the center so that you can just hold it down, okay. So the next thing is for you to turn it over to the wrong side, and then we're just going to go ahead and then stitch down or close down the side seams. So if you want to insert a pocket at this point, you can definitely insert your pocket. So I'm going to be inserting my pocket off camera. So that is just it, guys, and then you just go ahead and hem the down part of it, and once you're done, you should have something like this. So that's it for this video, guys. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you're going to be recreating this, please do well to tag me on Instagram at at RONISHIET, guys. Yeah, that is just it. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're stopping by for the first time, and also share this video with your friends, okay, or just share the video so that anybody that is also looking forward to make something like this will also have something to work with. And also don't forget to give me a thumbs up on this video. And that is it, guys. See you guys on my next video. Bye, guys.